Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on in to twitch.tv/Leachy Live. I am your host, Leachy. I just realized that I didn't put the names on the bottom of our cameras, so I will work on that in the background. But hey, if you're here early, that's the treat because you get to know exactly who we are. So welcome in. I am Leachy. This dude over here is the one and only Hunted. Hunted, how are you doing? I hear that you're super excited.
Oh yeah, I mean, ever since OGL ended, it's been like a void in my heart, man. Yeah. I just needed more Trackmania, and we're here. It's the World Cup qualifiers today and tomorrow. I'm super pumped that we get to cover it.
Yes, I could not be more excited. We have, we had an hour of the seeding round. We're down to about 30 minutes. Got a little bit slow on the uptake on my end for getting started, so sorry about that. But we will bring you the action as soon as we are ready. We're about halfway through, so we'll kind of just be bouncing around different servers to start the day off, just to kind of see how everyone's doing, figure out who's looking good. I'm sure you'll see some of the typical faces that you're used to. TMGL competitors, TMGLC competitors, maybe a few OGL faces might pop in here and there. But yeah, we expect this to definitely be an exciting day one.
Yeah, and it's quite the competition too. I mean, when things are all said and done at the end of Sunday, right, or tomorrow, I should say. We're gonna have 8 people who qualify essentially from the hundreds or thousands of people that signed up. So today's obviously a big day, pretty important day, but it'll be fun to watch the qualifiers see names that we might not see tomorrow.
Absolutely, yeah. So let us talk about first the schedule, ladies and gentlemen. So we will just mosey on over to the schedule. So there are 2 days of the Open Qualifier. Today, of course, is day number 1. The seeding stage started about 30 minutes ago. It will end roughly 30 minutes from now. And then we get started in, like I said, about 30 minutes with the round of 64, which will lead into the round of 32. So there are only going to be kind of 2 real, competitive phases of this qualifier competition, but I expect it to be relatively stiff competition from the offset.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Again, I mean, to qualify to begin your qualification journey, you have to have a lot of fast times in some very difficult maps. I mean, you and I were talking about them just last night, going over everything for this. And 3 maps from TMGL make their way into the qualifiers today, and 3 new maps that all have, unique identities and are going to be tough for the players today.
Yeah, 100%. Sunday, we move on to those finals. We will have every single one of them for you. It is not going to be happening on this channel. In fact, it's going to be happening on this dude's channel right below us. I believe that's twitch.tv/HuntedCast.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Cast or casts with an S at the end?
Cast. No S. Just
C-A-S-T. Hunted,
yes.
C-A-S-T. So take a look over there. It's going to be an absolute banger. We move from that to, ladies and gentlemen, the map pack that is going to be used today. There are 6 maps that we will be kind of cycling through throughout this entire time. The other 4 maps are going to be announced, I believe, tomorrow, but we do have the 6 on offer for today.
Yeah, and kind of just going back to what I was saying, if you watch any of the TMGL, you'll recognize Quicksand, you'll recognize Heart, and Tiny Gap as well. Some dramatics definitely have happened on those 3 maps in the past, specifically Tiny Gap. Excited to see that. But like I said, Bolt Holes, Slalom, and Poolside, 3 new maps that are making their way into the fold this time around, and they all have very exciting, at least in my opinion, at least to watch, very exciting identities, specifically Bolt Holes very towards the end, very unique things that, you don't often see or you don't see nearly as much as some of these other maps.
bolt holes at one of my, I think honestly at this point, my favorite TMGL map of all time. Super
yes.
excited about that. The identity itself is so tense. You're trying to get the car through a gap that is barely wide enough to fit your car. It's probably a few pixels on either side. And even, Hunted, actually, you and I were talking about this earlier, I think it was last night for prep for this, where you could take a straight shot through the gap in the bolt hole. However, doing that, you usually have a little bit too much height, so you'll see a lot of the really high skill players, to maintain that speed but not have to lift in midair to avoid crashing, they'll swing out and kind of take a wide angle towards the jump, and that adds almost a necessary amount of complication in order to kind of eke out those tiny little fractions of time that you need.
Oh yeah, and we're going to see that all weekend long. We'll definitely see some unique lines from players and some safer lines as well. I mean, of course, this is qualification. Trying to just get as many points as you can is going to be kind of the goal here. And each of these maps are going to, like we were saying, add a unique little bit of challenge.
Yeah, 100%. And lastly, we are going to our final snazzy little image here. This is the format that we are going to be working with. So let us run you through this. First off, we're at the seeding. So it is time attack. We're running through all 6 tracks, and we will get to those tracks in just a little bit. Just want to spend some time kind of introducing everybody to the situation. It's 10 minutes per track. So it's your basic time attack. Set your fastest time, do what you can, and at the end of all 6 tracks, basically your times are going to be summed up, and the fastest overall total of times, the 64 fastest, I should say, are going to advance to that next phase where Hunted, they start to be eliminated.
Right. It's technically, I think it's 64 minus 7 because there are 7 players who don't have to go through the seeding based on the rules. If you played in the last 2 previous TMGL seasons, you automatically get seeded. So they, I think there's 57 total spots that players are battling for right now. Once that then happens, then we go to that elimination. That'll be pretty much immediately once we're done here. And the classic sort of cup mode where you're gathering the points. You don't have to finish first like you did in TMGL to win points. So you want to try to stay towards the front of the pack. First, second, is really where you're going to build a lot of those points. But then we still have that. I'm blanking on the specific term for some reason right now. The finalist. Kind of the finalist. There you go. Exactly. So you still have to win at least one round in that finalist mode to then move on from your group, and only the top 2 from each group move on. So it's cutthroat, man. Today's going to be a lot of high action Trackmania for sure.
That's the exact word that I was thinking right off it is cutthroat right from the word go. You have got to be on your game. You pretty much have this seeding event as a sort of warm up per se, but this is all you've got. Once this roughly 60-minute period is over, you have got to be firing on all cylinders. Mr. Hunted, speaking of firing on all cylinders, let us get into this first early stage of the Open Qualifier. We are going to be zooming around following all of our players, pardon me, and we're just kind of hanging out, seeing who is able to collect the fastest times here. We see players like Matt Miko already kind of struggling with the identity on bolt holes, you can tell.
It's funny that we were talking about bolt holes, and this is part of the identity. That's just the first of 3 jumps you have to make. I think that's probably the hardest one, at least the one that has the least amount of wiggle room. Though that 3rd jump can be tricky as well, especially if you're carrying a lot of speed. You really have to take a solid line, and you can see players are going to struggle with this all day long. But this is one of those very unique identities. It reminds me a lot of Tiny Gap in a way where you don't really see this too terribly often, but it is a lot of fun. At least, again, in the booth, it's a lot of fun to watch these players go through this.
Man, Matt Miko, you see the struggle. You see the struggle that they're going to be having to deal with. It is unfortunate. Let's see if we can get a player's run from the very beginning. Crunch, we will be following through here. We can take a look at bolt holes. We are on the aforementioned favorite map of yours truly. It is Leachy Live's favorite map. Penalty dirt running through there. You have a reactor boost down section into this loop. Jump into a very, very slight drift. Kind of use the banking of that turn to carry you around the corner as inside as you possibly can. Pardon the police, they are coming for me. This is an illegal Trackmania broadcast, apparently. Dear Lord, what's going on in the background? Crunch. Also very crucial there. You need to nail that Neo slide. I would say you don't necessarily need to at this stage, but if you have plans to qualify, you had better have that mechanic in your back pocket locked down every single time.
Yeah, no, in this track again, I think I agree with you. I don't know if I'm going to say this is my favorite TM like World Cup map of all time. It's definitely one of the most unique ones, and for a lot of reasons. Like we're coming up on the identity here. Crunch, not as much speed as I think you would want there, but again, with the fact that he's going not as fast makes this a little bit easier, and I mean, not a terrible time. 120. You can see the world or the map records up at the top there. I think McQuattro actually just got that recently because Soldier was #1 when we were starting that lap, I believe. So you can see 118's kind of being the mark there. So a 120 probably not going to cut it for the top 57, but not a terrible terrible lap if you can make that up in future maps.
The good thing to realize here is that it is your total time from all 6 maps. So honestly, I feel like if you can get within a second or two of the map record, I feel like you're probably in with a pretty safe bet. Soldier actually with a ridiculous time of 17.9. Soldier and Evon, some relatively familiar TMGL faces. I told you we were going to see some of those faces eventually.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, of course. These players. I wouldn't be surprised if obviously the top 16. We already have 8 who are qualified. By the way, I don't know if we really mentioned that there are 8 players from the previous World Cup who are automatically qualified. They don't have to go through this. But I would not be surprised if we see a lot of familiar faces making it through the top 8. It's just that type of competition, right?
Exactly. Time will tell. Crunch led us through the first run, or the first complete run through bolt holes. Let's see if he can do the same. He, she, they can do the same through Heart, which actually I gotta say was early on was one of my most hated ones, just because the identity was so I don't know. It was not necessarily super difficult. It just, for me, who's like, I'm a struggling silver 3. I'm working on hitting that I think it's top 1,000 for gold 1. I'm trying so hard to get there. But this final run through the planks, the platforms that you kind of have to parkour through, were so frustrating initially to get down. And then eventually, I'm sure you've experienced this, Hunted, something just kind of clicks in your brain, and you find that exact mark that you need to turn into, and all of a sudden the consistency appears. Like right here, you see Crunch is actually doing a pretty good job of getting through, lost a little bit of speed on the uphill, but overall will finish with a 1-0, what was that? I believe it was, did I miss it? A 1:05.5. That's a pretty competitive time. I think Crunch is looking pretty good overall, I would say, for top 64 qualification.
I mean, yeah, he's been essentially 2 seconds off world record pace in both maps that we've watched him so far. So I know that, he's got quite a bit of competition in this server. I believe we're in the server with Soldier, if I'm not mistaken.
We are indeed. Soldier, we have Super Carloof as well. I think, we had Avon as well, Energized. There's some really fast people in this one.
Yeah, I'd love to see, some of these players that haven't put up times yet, what Yeah, like Avon, for instance. I don't think he has. Oh no, he does. He have a time on the board at this point?
He does not.
Yeah, it looks like he's struggling with the start. Which, to be fair, the start on this map can be. This drift has to be pretty spot on because if you lose a lot of speed here, you're pretty much not going to be able to regain it, especially going through this dirt section where you got to ride this wall way up high like that. You can see, I mean, your speed, carrying your speed all the way through the start of this track is so important. So I'm not surprised to see players restarting over and over again here at the beginning, just looking for that good run to give them a little bit of speed coming out of this first section. But
especially with players players that have the standards of Evon, who's been at a high level of competition for so long, or maybe not necessarily for so long, but instantly once he got to that level of competition, there was an immediate amount of respect given just for how good he is, how truly fast he is. And I think there's something to be said for not finishing a run that you're just not satisfied with, regardless of getting a time on the board. Yeah, sure, it's probably the safe thing just to get a time on the board, just to bank it. But talking like F1 qualifying style, like there's always a risk of a red flag, so you want to get at least some kind of a time on the board. But I feel like Evon might be one of those perfectionists where he's not satisfied with anything other than like at least 90% of the best that he's capable of.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a double-edged sword though. You got to put a time on the board. You could be one of the best players in the game, and if you don't put up a time, then you're not qualifying. I mean, it's just straight up. So got to bite the bullet a little bit here. And this track too, again, if anybody familiar with TMGL, there was quite some drama on this map, specifically this identity. I mean, you talk about struggling yourself with it. We've seen the best players in the world struggle at times, and obviously, a lot on the line, higher stakes, but still, it's nice to see Evon. I mean, there you go. He's got the fastest time in the server by a very, very slim margin. Soldier probably going to want to try to regain that top spot, but I do like this track. I like the amount of precision that it requires towards the end, but it's in a different way, right? As you see Tox in there, unfortunately unable to complete the identity.
It's definitely a level of precision that I don't know if anyone in chat has experienced this. I don't know how many of you have played these TMGO maps. I highly recommend it. It's definitely a nice test of your skill, and it's also just kind of an ego boost when you get like a halfway decent time, because not nearly enough people play these maps compared to the seasonal campaigns. So you put in like a decent gold medal run, and you shoot up to I'm top 17 NA. That's not too bad. Like it kind of bigs you up a little bit, but it definitely requires a certain level of precision. But
look at that time.
You need to be in a mood for it. Yeah, this is a good
103.4, second place right now. McQuatcher's having a day, by the way.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, no, see, yeah, I just saw the leaderboard up top move with Evon. We were just talking about his high standards, and he sets two laps in a row, pretty fast pace. Super Carloof too having a good day as well, at least so from the couple of maps that we've watched. But I don't know what server McQuatcher's in, but I would love to see if we, I mean, obviously it's going to be hard to figure that out, but he's having himself a day, so I'm excited to see him. Hopefully, he'll qualify and at least for the top 64, and we'll watch him later on today.
Yeah, absolutely. We will. We'll switch things up next round. Just kind of hop into a different server, see what kind of times other players are putting up. Not sure what the next map is. I do believe the map order for the seeding phase was completely randomized, so nothing to count on there. While we are waiting for the timer to tick down, ladies and gentlemen, please do keep in mind that Trackmania is having its first LAN in quite some time, and it is going to be at the Stade de France on the 3rd of July, and tickets are very, very much still on sale. Go ahead and spam that link in chat a couple times. Please get your tickets. I believe the price starts at €25. Capacity is 315 seats, so please do not miss out on your chance to watch what I think is going to be one of the most exciting LANs for Trackmania in a long time. I guess technically by default, because I haven't had one in a long time, but when you take the level of competition into account, I really do think it's going to be a really good one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. 100% agree. Make sure you get those tickets if you haven't yet, especially if you're in the area. It's something that obviously you and I are definitely looking forward to, and you'll see some of the 16 best players in person play the game. And if you haven't experienced that, by the way, not even necessarily Trackmania, but if you've never watched some of the best players in the world in their specific game in person play, it's an experience that you can't recreate. Like, it's just one of the coolest things ever to actually see somebody do the thing in front of you. It's awesome, and you're definitely not going to want to miss it, especially this time around with coming back from COVID and everything, and with the new Toyota sponsorship as well. I'm certain the event's going to be awesome.
Can we talk about that for a second? Toyota Gazoo Racing as like the main partner, the kind of title sponsor, if you will, of the Trackmania Grand League World Cup. Massive ups, Nadeo. That is such a well-fitting sponsor to grab for this event. I'm super happy for everybody involved. I think things are going to work out beautifully. I do hope that is the start of a long and healthy relationship between TMGL and Toyota Gazoo Racing. I'm super excited.
Oh yeah, and it should be the starting point, or at least the launching off point for bigger and better things. And that's why why we say get your tickets now. Be part of the beginning of the next step, right, of Trackmania esports. I definitely think it's I definitely think it would be super fun to watch in person. I unfortunately not going to be able to make it all the way out there during that time. So I know I'm definitely going to be watching the Twitch streams and everything like that, and there's going to be a lot of awesome personalities there too, everything like that. As Soulja did come back and snag that top spot by just, what was that, 300ths of a second?
Something, I believe, like that. Yeah, very, very close.
It was 403, and I think McQuattro had a 408. So well done to Soulja. We were wondering if he was going to pull that back, and he does. So yeah, everybody looks like they were having a day in that server. That was awesome. That was a lot of fun to watch.
Indeed. We are back to our ugly mugs for just a second as we switch servers. We are going to server number 11. Ooh. And let us just kind of take stock of who we have here. BMQS, the speedy Canadian. Who else do we have? We have Hansi. We have Blay. Arist. Yeah, we'll hang out. We'll hang out here for a couple minutes. We'll see what the deal is in this map. We are now playing on Tiny Gap, which got a makeover, as did many of these maps, which I am super happy about. I think they look absolutely gorgeous, and Tiny Gap actually got a time of day change. We are now zipping around at nighttime.
Yeah, I was actually just about to mention that too. Is I really appreciate the attention to detail that's gone into revamping the other maps, like, or the the TMGL maps, to kind of fit the style of the World Cup, but just the attention to detail to make it look really, I mean, just beautiful. With the new the new releases and stuff they've had recently, to really pretty up the game and everything like that. I think these maps kind of go to show what's possible, right? When there's all that love put into it. So, you know, big ups to the map designers and things like that too. They knocked it out of the park, at least with these 6 that we've watched so far.
Exactly. And you'll actually notice here, we'll stay with BMQS for a second, because there were a few changes made to this map. Specifically in this ice section, you'll notice there is now a gap to shoot there. There's a gate on the right that you need to be a little bit more careful of. You come up and around here. Now, most people are used to the slide and the jump there, but there's now a bridge which lengthens the time on the map by about 2/10. So not a huge change, but, you know, it's something that adds a little bit of extra intrigue and something to focus on. BMQS just kind of smacking into the beginning. No big deal. Still about 7 minutes and change left in this qualifier round.
He had a really wide line heading into that bridge section too. I was interested to see that. I don't know if he just ran a little wide or if that's his normal line, but little risky going towards the outside part of the track. And you know, we talk about, again, just the small changes that have been made, these dirt sections too. I'm glad to see that we've brought back some of the tracks with more pronounced dirt sections. You know, we were, again, you know, last night you and I going over our notes and stuff and watching some of the world record runs on these maps, how every inch of the track can be, you know, obviously utilized to some extent. And I think this is a perfect representation of that, this specific map. Obviously, Tiny Gap is known for its identity, right? All the drama that happens right at the end. But it is a unique drive up to it, at least from a spectator viewpoint, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. Let's, you know, you're talking about making space, but then Tiny Gap is like, the whole point is having the least amount of space possible, right? Let's see if Aris can make this one work. Looking for that very specific amount of speed. The number bandied about last season, I believe, was like 215, 216, but we saw players getting through with much lower speed. And so I feel like it has a lot more to do with the line and the angle that you're capable of taking. The bottom line is that these maps, and yet another prop, you know, towards the direction of the map makers, these maps aren't necessarily single line maps. Yes, if from a bird's eye view, it looks like everybody is taking the exact same line, but there are really, really tiny differences that for certain players may work slightly better. Maybe a wider line kind of helps a player set up for a certain corner a little bit better, where another player is used to really tight, you know, skin of your teeth kind of cornering lines, and it just kind of works out better for them. The point is, these maps can cater to different play styles. It's not immediately obvious, but it's something that a pro will be able to tell you, that there are enough small differences to where players can take slight variations of lines through corners and kind of make it work for themselves.
Yeah, and we see, you know, it's play style too for a lot of players that determine what line they want to take through different corners and things like that as well, especially when you talk about ice and things like that. You know, the more trickier sections for some of these players. I think you hit the nail on the head, and that's what makes it fun to watch. It's what makes it as deep as it is, right? Obviously, you know, we see players doing things that I couldn't imagine doing, even if I grinded it out for thousands of hours, it feels like. Yeah. but just, I mean, it's really cool, you know, just kind of going back to what you were saying. And this map in particular, I know that we've talked about the identity of Tiny Gap. Shout out to Mutta, by the way, in your chat right now. I don't know if you saw that. Current TMGL champion.
Welcome.
Who won the who won the previous TMGL season on this map. So, you know, it was quite the battle. I don't know if it was this map or if now I'm blanking on the name of the other one. We just watched it. We were just on it. Don't know why I can't think of the name of it. But
oh my god, I am too. It wasn't Bolt Holes. What was between Bolt Holes and Tiny Gap? Oh my god.
I can't remember the name of the map. I don't know why.
Help me.
I'm picturing it right now. I can't think of the name. Anyway, it's fantastic to watch.
It was Hart. Thank you, Thunder.
Yes, thank goodness. Okay.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we were just on it like 10 seconds ago. But the battles that we saw, specifically in that last group, just kind of goes to show, illustrate your point, that there are those little differences, and it's great to watch the top level players take different lines and things. That's a really low line through there.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was necessarily what he wanted to do.
Probably not. So Jandro is, I have caught Jandro in a couple different Cup of the Day or just kind of live servers. Very, very fast player. And if they can get now I haven't seen Jandro in, this level of a competition, so I can't really speak to like the consistency, but I know he's dang good. So I will definitely be looking for him, hopefully, in the round of 64. Me, being an American, I won't speak for you, Hunted, but me, I definitely would like to see more U.S. representation in Trackmania, and hopefully, the whole like broadcasting commentary aspect of that is kind of the start of things, because I feel like I can speak for you when I say that we very much believe in this game and its power to kind of captivate an audience, and I need it to take hold in the U.S. just a little bit more, because I'm absolutely infatuated with this game.
Oh yeah, no. Sorry for anybody in chat who's going to get offended by this. There is a large amount of NA bias on the desk right now between Leachy and I. So, but I mean, you're absolutely right. Obviously, it's great to have representation in somebody like Carl Jr., who's always going to be at the top, or who has been for such a long time. But it would be nice to see. And don't get me wrong, there are some very, very, very good North American players. We were talking about them last night. That are just not quite there yet, right? It seems a little bit more time, more events, more focus on building the North American scene. I think we can certainly see more North American players being competitive in events like this. It's just going to take time and development and things like that. And these events, these open qualifying World Cup stuff too, is perfect for that as well. And, I think everybody appreciates what's happening here, and the fact that anybody can compete in this, and that's unfortunate.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I was listening to your point, and Lebafu was almost a whole second up, gets through the identity, survives, shaves about 3, or rather adds about 3 or 4 tenths onto the time, and then just. Yeah. My guy, we just need to go straight. We were so close to a healthy improvement, and then just slams it to the outside wall. That's fine. Still like technically time.
It's like scoring in open net in Rocket League. I don't know if I'm allowed to bring that up on our broadcast. It's like the easiest thing is always the most difficult. High pressure situation like that.
NA aim claims Mudda. Excuse me, this player is French. I will not have that slander in my chat. Thank you very much. NA aim. How dare you? Final 40 seconds of Tiny Gap. And I think, are we done after this? There might be one more map. I can't quite remember. We're close to the end regardless. I guess we'll find out.
Well, I think we've done 5 maps. I as far as the rules state, it said all 6 are to be played. But I don't know if it's a time limit thing, or if we're done at the top of the hour. But I thought we've only done 5, but I could be wrong.
Chat's telling me this is the last one, so I guess we will find out if chat is correct as the timer counts down. That is it.
Oh, McQuattro snuck in there. Okay, I was gonna say he wasn't on the leaderboard this time, but there he is, 7th place.
Just barely 3 tenths back.
And of course, Soldier. Dude, Soldier's just dominating these qualifiers. I mean, to be fair, again, 7 of the best players in the world are not doing well. Not just 7. I guess 15 of the best players in the world are not participating in this, because 8 of them have already qualified, and 7 of them get to skip the seedings. step. So Soldier, probably one of the best, if not the best player who does have to go through the seeding. It's not surprising to see him at the top every time.
Chat, you were wrong. There is one map left. We are going to poolside. So thank you, Flaming Truck, for misleading me. I appreciate you, dude. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to call you out. Oh, no.
I think
I was wrong.
Yelled at chat while being wrong.
I was wrong. Okay, it just moved straight into the round. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
See, this doesn't happen on my stream, by the way.
Oh, that is insanely embarrassing. All right. Well, we're just gonna move on.
Go to break. Happened. Cut to break.
Kill it. Oh my God. Oh yes. Okay. So Phoebe, while we're waiting, because there is 10 minutes of downtime, so we will head to a short break. But before we do that, would just like to take a second. Phoebe, A, thank you for being here. B, is spamming links in chat right now. There is the Playing for the Planet event going on right now. It's the Green Game Jam. Get to that link and vote for Trackmania. It's a single button click. Just one. You don't have to scroll through a list of a ton of participants. It's a single button click. Click that link. Vote for Trackmania. It's this big environmental awareness event that's going on. And Trackmania is committing to a thing where basically every 10 trees planted in specially selected maps through a competition that's going to be taking place, they will plant one tree in real life thanks to a partnership with Ecology, cool. Which is awesome. So please go vote. It'll take literally 10 seconds, and you're all here for Trackmania anyway, so please show your support. Hunted, that does it awesome. For the seeding phase. That was a lot more productive than I expected. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, I love the seeding stuff too. Just to see who you expect to be the fastest today. I think McQuattro, Soldier are going to be the some of the top players to watch. Panda was up there a couple of times on the leaderboard. It's going to be a competitive day, man. The fact that we only will have 16 players who qualify in general and only 8 from this event. It's going to be tough, and it starts like literally right now.
Yeah, 100%. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be right back on the other side of this quick break. Don't go anywhere. You do not want to miss any of this action.
Let this be another knot to tie around my bed at night. I know I've lost the fight to erase your face, my mind. Awake, I lie here staring up beyond the sky. Oh.
Take a moment right here, feeling like it's out gear. Driving towards the sun with a rose and a gun. Feel the wind in my hair, going nowhere I swear. Like an outlaw on the run, dangerous but it's so fun. Running, running, no. Hold on, don't let go. Running, running, no. Keep running. Told my boss that I'm done. Had no luck with my mom. Say, what will you do with your life? You know it's hard to survive. A cigar in my mouth. Maybe guilty but proud. Now I'm an outlaw on the run. Dangerous but it's so fun. Running, running, no. Hold on, don't let go. Running, running, no. Keep running.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with the round of 64, and we have a banger of a lobby for you. It is Super Carloof, Darkwix, Nico, and Lucario facing off on Bolt Holes, my favorite of all of the maps. Let's get this one underway. It is Leachy and Hunted on the opening cast for you, and about halfway through this first run, Carloof and Darkwix out to an early lead.
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, all French server, so definitely some French pride right here. We start on Bolt Holes, and for anybody who's unfamiliar with how the structure is going to go, actually, I'll hold that thought for just a moment as we come to the final jump here. Good couple of jumps there from both Carloof and Darkwix. Nico will take the third spot. So real quick, let's just go over how this format works. You can see the points at the top left of the screen with the players and now on the leaderboard when it pops up here. You can see since Carloof got first place, he gets the 10 points, and then 6, 4, and 3 for second, third, and fourth respectively. We are racing to 140 points. If you hit 140 points, you get then set into the finalist mode. You win one time and you go through as either first or second seed, depending. So 2 of the players will go through today to the round of 32, and then we'll do it all over again a couple of times tomorrow. And the big thing is, though, we are going to have to play all 6 maps, right? So I think there's, 4 rounds per map, and then we swap over to the next one?
That is exactly it. 4 rounds per map. So the maximum amount of points you can get from any map is 40 for winning 4 times on the trot. But yeah, we're guaranteed to see at least 4 of the 6 maps in this rotation. So a very full day of Trackmania ahead.
It might even be more than that. I know. Oh, Super Carloof clipping that checkpoint. This is going to give Darkwoods. He comes all the way from 4th place. He was about half second down there. He's challenging for first right now. He's got Lucario in his sights. Can he snipe it? It's the last jump. Oh, he takes first. Unbelievable.
A thousandth of a second, Hunted. We were talking about this, about the lines being taken through the bolt holes. You saw Darkwix throwing the car on that diagonal entry. He lands sooner and he carries more speed without needing to lift in midair. Excellently done. And you can see it pays off. It pays dividends, even if those dividends result in a thousandth of a second gap. Those are the close gaps that you are working with at this level of competition when it comes to Trackmania. That was absolutely fantastic. This is what I'm talking about with this esport. I'm here for this.
It's a good feeling when you make a point and it immediately gets validated. Yeah. Oh no! Unfortunately, I got disconnected. Hopefully, the whole server didn't crash.
Switching to caster cams. Oh no! All right, let's see if we can get back to that. If you got booted out as well, I think that may have been a server issue. All right, that's fine. We will flip around to a different one.
No, and, I'm trying to join any server. Hopefully, they all didn't crash. That would not be good.
I am. Yeah, I'm also having an issue with all of them. Uh-oh. Hi, everybody. We're here trying to hopefully, I believe they will be working, as hard as possible to get this worked out in the background. Until then, actually, you know what? This may play exactly into my hands for an issue that we were talking about off stream. So, ladies and gentlemen, give us a minute or two. Hunted and I are going to head to one more quick break. We're going to sort out just some technical stuff on the broadcast back end, and hopefully that'll give our match officials as well time to kind of sort out the server issue. And we will be back with you in just one moment. So please don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
We fell out of love like shooting stars came crashing down, and we're building back up again now. I see your heart, see your mind, see all you hide. I won't let you go, can't let this die. When you lose yourself, I'll be right beside you. I see your heart, see your mind, see all you hide. I won't let you go, can't let this die. When you lose yourself, I'll be right beside you. I'll be right beside you. I see your heart, see your mind, see all you hide. I won't let you go, can't let this die. When you lose yourself, I'll be right beside you. I see your heart, see your mind, see all you hide. I won't let you go, can't let this die. When you lose yourself, I'll be right beside you. I'll be right beside you. I'll be right beside you. We fell out of love like shooting stars came crashing down, and we're building back up again now. I see your heart, see your mind, see all you hide. I won't let you go, can't let this die. When you lose yourself, I'll be right beside you. I'll be right beside you. We fell out of love like shooting stars came crashing down, and we're building back up again now. I see your heart, see your mind, see all you hide. I won't let you go, can't let this die. When you lose yourself, I'll be right beside you. I'll be right beside you. I'll be right beside you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Servers have been tinkered with. I don't think it was Foof under the table working with the hard hat that we saw before, but it was someone in the background. Hey, you look different. Who are you?
I'm hunted, but looks different. Hi, I'm ThunderB. You may recognize me from nothing because I didn't cast this season, but I'm about to, and I'm really excited about it.
Yes, you are. ThunderB from different esports fame, mostly Rocket League. A lot of us come from Rocket League. It is my first passion, but Trackmania is my second one and may slowly become my first one if things get more and more exciting as they have been right now. Round of 64. Ignore that first one. This is the real one for certain, I promise. Let's get this underway. Still the same four players. It is the Darkwix, Super, Carloof, Lucario, and Nico going up against each other. And this is shaping up to be a very fantastic competition if the opening couple rounds in the first instance of this were anything to go by.
Yeah, Darkwix is going to have a bone to pick with just the administrative world, I guess, of Trackmania because winning a round by 1,000th, mathematically, you can't do any better than that. I guess there are weird tiebreakers that happen if two players literally tie in Trackmania, so there is that to hold out hope for. But Darkwix clutched an unbelievable round, and everything blew up. So that's a high bar to set to try and match that level of excitement, but we're going to get some by the end of this thing. And right now we're just getting three players contesting near the front, a little bit spread. Each of them, right now Darkwix holding down in front as they head into the Bolt Holes Identity, aptly named, as you see, named after a bolt. and the holes that are in it. Bolts don't have holes in them, but Dark Wix takes that first round. And by how much was that? 4/10? That's pretty comfortable, I would say.
Relatively comfortable. We've seen Dark Wix competing at high levels in previous instances, so I don't imagine that things will be too difficult for Dark Wix to put this round away. That said, I mean, all four of these players are super recognizable names, so I don't think that... Yes, I do think Dark Wix will wind up taking the initial victory out of here, but I definitely think he's going to have to work relatively hard for it.
Would say so. And again, it's 3 out here, with one player making a mistake really early in the round. That was Lucario this time, who lost more than a few tires on that donut downslope right at the beginning of the map. So they're going to be trying to make up some time. Dark Wix a little squirrely on that quarter pipe jump going across as well. In the reactor section, it's Nico holding it down in front this time. A full French lobby, in case you hadn't noticed. And as is so often the case with Trackmania, a lot of the high-level players hailing from France. It's a wonder they don't host the competition in France. Oh, wait, they are. Stade France. 316? 10? It's in the teens.
315.
15 was the number of tickets. Those are going to go like hotcakes. So I really hope that maybe some folks that are tuning in are going to get some of those tickets, because it's going to be as good as what you're watching is. It's going to be about 8,000 times better, Nico. That was very close. That gap was just a 1/10 after they kind of bonked the finish, but Nico still gets the round and gets the full 10 points.
My lord, Dark Wix was sneaking up on the backside there. Very, very close. Will, actually, is my math wrong? No, okay. Will maintain the lead. You'll see this a lot throughout this time. I'm just going to pause.
You being bad at math, you mean?
Exactly, yes. I'm going to pause for a split second extra just to allow the game to do the mathematical calculations for me, and then just kind of witness how everything shakes up to be. So, Dark Wix, early lead. We are working all the way up to a 140-point total. So we are going to be here a while. The good thing is we have 4 fantastic players to take us through this entire time. I am desperately hoping for a close competition. Be that as it may, I do think, as I said before, that Dark Wix will come away with the victory, but it will be, I think, closely contested.
I think so too. There's an asterisk there. It's tough with about exactly this caliber of player. Just as you're kind of poking up into that challenger's level, it's consistency a lot of the time that is separating them from breaking up into that next level. So players like the Dark Wix can drop rounds to the likes of, well, as you just saw it, Nico and others in this lobby. Crazy things can happen, and they're more liable to happen at this level than just a little bit higher. But the identity here, it looks like it's Leachy just between 2 at the end.
Oh, Carl and Dark Wix facing off. Makes contact. It cuts the gap from last time in half, about half a tenth now. Dark Wix does manage to come away with all 10 points in that round, but man, Carloof and Nico have really, really been pushing Dark Wix quite hard early on. I believe that is this coming here now will be the final round of bolt holes. Fantastic competition so far. Do keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that only the top 2 at the end of this round advance to the round of 32. So the first 2 players to hit finalist status and then win a round will be the ones making it through. And I think that is something that's nice about the cup format, Thunder, as opposed to the rounds format, is that rounds at the absolute highest level of TMGL, anyone is capable of winning a round. But something where there's an open qualifier and you're opening it out to any member of the public, I think a game mode like rounds kind of allows people to kind of stay in the fight a little bit often, because you don't necessarily need to be world-beatingly fast, but as long as you're consistent and finishing P2 and P3 every single time, you're still in with somewhat of a shout for winning, as long as you can still get that final victory once you hit finalist status.
Yeah, but this open qualifier, you got to trim the fat quickly to shave down to what is the highest caliber of players outside those auto qualifiers and really sort that out. So then when you get to day 2, the competition is going to be super close. We have round finishing going on here. Nico struggling with the identity a little bit here. Can't get across the finish line again, but it was Darkwix taking 10 points yet again. A 10th and a half, 10th and 3/4, somewhere in that range, and no points to be scored there for Nico, I believe it was, and maybe Lucario as well. The identity just lopping off the heads of a few members of that lobby on the last run through.
And that is another painful aspect to keep in mind as we move on to Tiny Gap. If you do not finish within that match finish timer, you get 0 points. So there is still some incentive to finishing the run at all, because if you don't, you are left completely empty-handed, and that can be a huge handicap going through throughout the rest of these rounds.
Yeah, it's a killer. It really is, and especially for players who may otherwise be fighting at the top. You're most liable to see a player who's just struggling in general not be able to run through the identities, but if it's a player who just has one bad run and it's so bad that they completely miss points, that could lose them P1, P2 in a lobby. It's really important to score no matter what, and to always be able to finish. And I think that's one of the biggest transitional skills from casual to competitive Trackmania, is learning how to salvage a bad round, because it's not something you need to be able to do when you're just hunting for times on your own. But if you're competing, you have to be able to do that.
A wise Trackmanian once told me, these are not my words, but a hunter, like a highly skilled Trackmania hunter, does things until they get it right. And a TMGL player does things until they stop getting it wrong. And I think that is the biggest difference here that we will see between some of the highest skilled players, is that they may not be, the lights out fastest pace possible, but where you see certain players making mistakes in one corner one round and another corner the second round, that one player is going to cross the finish by hook or by crook.
Until they stop getting it wrong.
Are you okay?
I'm not okay. Is there smoke coming out of my ears? Don't put the caster cameras on, because I literally think I'm going to set off a fire alarm in my house right about now. Yeah, we're just going to, just put it aside. We'll put that aside. Put like a huge old pin in that. I might never take that pin out. I don't really want to revisit this because I don't understand what that meant. But I do understand how good Trackmania Grand League players are. And case in point, when you watch a lobby like this, you can see a clear separation in skill between all of these players, and none of them are even on the radar when it comes to the times and consistency that the players who are all auto-qualified put down. It just, the gaps are always there, always growing, and it must be a nightmare just to keep up for players like this when they see the top level continue to distance itself. Carl, is that 2? New best time as well, so they improved on their first round time, and twice Super Carloof nailing the identity to get 20 points straight up in this lobby. What a performance.
Especially on Tiny Gap as well. I feel like, now, I haven't exactly been doing pre-broadcast research in terms of like going out and finding interviews and stuff, but I have a feeling that Tiny Gap may or may not be the bane of many players' existence specifically for that identity. There is such little room for error. I mean, I feel like there's little room for error in any TMGL map, but Tiny Gap especially, just because it's literally like maybe I don't know, 2 cars height of a width to be able to squeeze that through. So you really don't have much of a margin for error to work with, and the players like Carloof who are able to make it work time and time again are really showing that they're made of some next level stuff.
Yeah, and I've heard about this map as well, that because it's not that execution heavy all the way until the identity, and especially at the higher levels where consistency is better, there's not much to separate players until you get to the identity, which makes nailing it that much more important. And that's why there was so much zaniness at the end of it, and we got to see very likely the greatest Trackmania Grand League match of all time.
Yeah.
At the culmination of the season we just watched, with that 8,000th of a second finish on this map, and that's why it's back. I mean, how could you not bring this map back after the way it ended?
I'm a big fan. And you know what else I'm a big fan of? Did you see that point total? Carloof, thanks to the performance on Tiny Gap, overtakes Darkwix in the leaderboard, albeit by a single point. But, I mean, Darkwix was sitting relatively pretty on the previous map, and we get through to... we get through to Tiny Gap, and Carloof is now not quite in the driver's seat per se, but definitely feeling a lot more comfortable than he would have done on the first map.
I would say so. This is really selling the validity of the map pick and ban system as well, that you see in top level competitions, and how crucial it is, because players know they have a map like this on deck that they can completely swing a competition with, and it's important to have in your back pocket. And right now, like you said, a point separating Carloof and Darkwix because of how this map has gone so far. And look who it is up at front, Carloof and Darkwix. Oh, Carloof catches a major tire though on that quarter pipe jump. Darkwix is going to get a big amount of separation, and even more because that bridge looked a little awkward for Carl as well. So I think eyes on Darkwix here, because it's just going to be down to execution of the identity. If they nail it, no doubt they will grab it here. That looks like a good speed, good setup. Perfect. That's exactly what you want to see for, quote, I guess, safing it. It's a dangerous identity no matter what, but I would say they kind of safed it there so that they could ensure they would get through and get themselves 10 points.
Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, it's such a great thing as well, because it really does come down to execution, as you said earlier, of the identity. They can get through the earlier stages just fine. Sure, there are some places to screw up, as we saw earlier from Carloof making that mistake on that quarter pipe jump, but even if you've built up something like a 1.5-second gap, the identity is so dangerous that you really can't sit back and be comfortable, because you need to make sure that you are executing this as accurately as possible, because if not, you can get bitten quite severely, especially if it's been a close match up till that point.
Conversely, Heart a little bit more challenging all the way through. The identity, no slouch. I wouldn't say quite as sketchy as Tiny Gap can be. Still, we see a lot of rounds made or broken on that identity, but not quite the same way as it being so heavily based on the identity. In Heart, you're going to see a few more differences at different points in the round. The water section can be the bane of a lot of rounds as well, trying to maintain, I guess you could call it grip. The water physics are curious to say the least in this game, but in that section, they're trying to keep as much speed as they possibly can without losing traction inside of the water. And it almost looks like freewheeling in a sense when they get into the water, because the engine behavior gets different. And you'll see here, they're just kind of holding whatever speed they had, and they're trying to maximize their entry speed and just barely graze those corners and get around them. But, ooh, that's a catch from Carl on the identity. So what are we looking at here now? Darkwix getting through, and they're going to take the first round. No, they're not. Yes, they are.
Yes, they are. There you go. Nice and easy. Darkwix, FYI, did fall down to 3 players. There is a chance that our fourth competitor either was having connection issues or decided that it was just too much. Lucario is no longer in here. Unfortunate, but we press on. At the very least, that means there are more points to be fought for. Oh, I say that, and Lucario is back. Okay, so I believe it was just a connection issue. Thank goodness. I do not want that. Well, I say that, and then all of a sudden there's an instant DNF. So we will just proceed as if we only have 3 players on the server as of right now.
Well, 2 in front. Oh, some bonkage. I think maybe on that wall. Not much, though. Dark Wicks still held on to the bulk of their speed. And that's still who is sitting up at the front. Nico out in front after holding down the fort at the back for several consecutive rounds. They did not have a great time on Tiny Gap, to put it lightly. And here now they're trying to lock down a round after a long drought. Dark Wicks, great speed though, through that little dirt slalom to get in front in the water section. Nicely navigated by both players. They're very tight here, separated by, at a moment, 100th of a second. The gaps though opening up. Dark Wicks caught Carl now, sliding through, grabbing both of those positions. If they can nail the end of the identity, that is a round stolen from two players who neither of whom could execute at the end.
Look at Carl came sailing through about halfway through that identity. That was ridiculous. Neither of the other players getting a super precise entry into it, and it hurt them through the rest of the run. And Carloof comes out the benefactor there. Let's see if that mental momentum is able to follow along throughout the rest of this round. I do believe, lest I jinx it, yes, Lucario is back with us. Definitely a pretty severe point deficit to fight back from, but that is the beauty of the cup mode, is that even if you finish dead last, there are still points on offer. So it is imperative that you do what you can to finish the round, and Lucario definitely has an uphill battle ahead of them, but I'm sure we'll be doing the best they possibly can. In the meantime, Carloof and Dark Wicks fighting head-to-head up front. You could not get much closer. Carloof slightly further ahead in the water section as Lucario slams into the wall on the right side. Into the identity now. The quick air brake to maintain a slightly more even level of contact. Dark Wicks overtakes, but only a moment. Dark Wicks, oh my lord, this is close. Carloof will snipe this away. Exactly half a tenth. Very closely fought. I feel like we are starting to see our two front runners for this lobby emerge.
I think we saw that really after Tiny Gap.
Probably,
because Wicks controlled a lot early. Carl then regained and really leveled things after that map. And between those two performances, they built a huge buffer over the other two players in the lobby, not least of which because of connection issues on Lucario's part, and Nico just really having a bad time on Tiny Gap. So it's now double, more than double. As far as the gap between P2 and P3, it would be nothing short of miraculous for Nico, I think, to introduce any doubt into our minds that it's going to be Carl and Dark Wicks moving on into the round of 32, because that's how it's breaking down here. Half the players get through because we are cutting down from 64 to 32 at the end of this round.
Exactly. Massive collision there from Lucario early on. Unfortunate. And an awkward landing during that uphill section from Dark Wicks will hand Carloof about half a second of a lead here. So just needs to run through nice and calmly, as we've seen them do time and time again. Oh, slow entry there. That was dangerous. Almost clipped that bottom section of the platform, but does just enough to bring it home in first, collecting another 10 points. Super Carloof pulling out into a slightly larger lead, 94 to 89. There's barely 5 points in it.
A late bloomer, Super Carloof, it would appear, who is just getting better and better as the rounds go along, and really challenging the Dark Wicks now at this point as we transition to our next map. That was Heart for the uninitiated. We're moving on now. Ooh. If I push a button, will it tell me? Slalom. Oh my goodness, what a throwback. This is the first time I've watched this map in a very long time, and I'm jazzed about it. I really am excited to see Grand League reach really far back in its repertoire of maps and bring back something that, much like Tiny Gap we saw earlier, we've seen a lot of excitement in Grand League happen on this map in the past.
Let's get this opening round kicked off. Let's see which one of these four players is going to take an early lead. Maybe not in the points, but in the confidence throughout this map. I feel like you'll see it pretty early on with how hard they're able to commit here. Lucario back about 2/10 from everybody else, but still doable, especially given the remaining slalom sections. There's plenty of time to be made up. Nice drift there. Will maintain a decent amount of speed into the dirt slalom, but that landing is a little bit awkward and will bleed a ton of speed, especially that super wide entry. Feel like it's probably safe to count them out. Dark Wix and Super Carloof. Who else? Dead even. Need to make sure you maintain the speed up there lest the downward reactor boost runs out. And now to the wickedest of identities, Dark Wix knocks into that left side wall. Let's see if Carloof can control it. Sure can. Slides out. It's safe, but definitely slow. He will make it through with a decent sized gap as well over that penalty snow to a safe finish. 1:04.9, a speedy time to boot.
Very speedy. Nicely done there by Carl. Just keeping it solid throughout the whole run, not risking a whole lot and not dropping a whole lot in terms of time in any particular section. An even bigger lead now for Carl, who goes up 11 points over the Dark Wix in this lobby. Nico and Lucario far off in the distance, photobombing the lobby at this point. Not really in the mix to be the stars of this show. We're gonna be seeing Carl and Wix in the top 32, right?
Yeah.
At what point does the math just solidify that?
I think
We got to be there.
I'm not going to call anyone a fool, because far be it for me to assume the intelligence levels of our fans here, but I feel like it would be wise to make that assumption. Yes, there is still plenty of this competition left to go, but yet again, we get through that sausage slalom section, say that 3 times fast, and it's the two of them to a full second lead here. Let's see if Carl and Dark Wix are able to make this work yet again. Carloof, very slow there, neck and neck. Can Dark Wix make this work any better? I don't believe so. Carloof has the speed. Yep, lamppost. Unfortunate for Dark Wix, and Dark Wix falls all the way down to dead last now. Had 6 points in his back pocket, slams into the lamp on the right side, and all of a sudden the points total gets cut in half, and Carloof still walks away with 10.
Interesting. We talked about it being mathematically impossible, but that Wix would hope is an isolated incident, because you just don't want to introduce doubt into the mentality. It is such a flow state game, Trackmania, where you want to get into a consistent headspace where there are no distractions, no complications in the way that you're thinking about playing, and it's things like that you don't want creeping into your mentality. You don't want to think about the gap closing between 2 and 3 just that little bit. It's just go next round. Really, it has to be, because and these are big point margins I'm talking about right now. I don't think Wix is too worried. But training your mentality to be that way and learning when the point gaps are really close to ignore that stuff, that's when it really becomes crucial.
So Carloof can control this. Much better control there through the identity. Love to see that. Just avoid that lamppost on the right side. He sure will. Skyrockets to P1. Nico will take a P2. Some much needed points there. Lucario will crawl across the line in P3. And Dark Wix yet again, another P4, I will say, is really, really confident in second place, so I don't think he has too much to worry about. But Carloof, I feel like, is in the catbird seat to put this away nice and early, especially now that he's got that big red F on that scoreboard. Finalist mode just needs a single round win to put this in the bag and move on to the round of 32.
The very misleading F. For
Yes.
any esport Twitch video game watcher in general, they'd almost wish they'd picked a different letter so that because you don't want to say, hey, F's in chat for Carloof because they're on finalist. I think that'd be a little bit confusing. So, yeah, but it is an F. It's a big red F. A nice little UI, user something touches that they also changed the lettering on the car to red when that player is on finalist. Another little hint as to the status of the player in the round. And Carl, on finalist, is nailing the identity yet again. And consistency in identities has been Carl's That's their whole deal. That's what has put them on the top of the lobby so many times.
And it has put them on top of the lobby on this lobby for the final time. Carloof is the first person out of this lobby to qualify into the round of 32, and just in time as we move on to a new map, which could risk bringing inconsistency. But Carloof doesn't have to worry about that because he is now dealt with. Thunder, it is time for poolside. How about another throwback?
Yeah, not as quite as far a throw. This one more of a stone's throw, as it was a fall map for Trackmania Grand League, if memory serves. And yeah, slalom reaching a lot farther back into the Grand League map pool. But poolside was one here that I think we saw a really interesting progression in lines. I think it was one of the maps through its lifespan in Trackmania Grand League that might have seen the biggest evolution in techniques that players used to find high-level times. And I loved seeing each week those refinements that were happening from the players that were playing it. But you're going to see that, you'll probably see whatever the best version was that they ended with. I think that's the way that people are playing this thing now, because it's had the heck optimized out of it, basically. And now these players know, they generally know the technique for getting things down to as low a time as possible.
Oh, Darkwix slamming into that outside wall there. Lucario taking the triangle line. I feel like everybody's going to be knocking that one out as well. All right, here is going to be an interesting thing to see as we get to the water section just before the identity. There are a couple different ways to take this. Let's see which way they opt for. Darkwix and Lucario. There we go. Both or two of the three ways demonstrated there. Darkwix going for the straight-in entry, maintaining grip, and clearly that has paid off in spades. 4/10 of a lead into the identity. Not much to worry about. Can really kind of safe this finish, cut really, really close to that inside, and that is all that is needed. Easy 10 points for Darkwix. Excellently executed.
Say that was, speaking of things to say 10 times fast, what was the last one that you said? Sausage slalom section?
Yes.
That was that one was a definite headache as well. Wow, that sausage slalom section excellently executed.
I said what I said.
My check's in the mail.
Yeah.
No, I'm combining your two tongue twisters into one, basically. It's just
Fair enough.
That was the whole bit there. Round 2 on poolside. Round number 1 didn't go all that well for either of the two players who brought up the rear on that one. It was just Darkwix kind of alone out front by the end of it. But I like that you pointed out the difference in techniques for that water dip section that happens near the end of the map, because that one, when I alluded to techniques evolving over time earlier, that was a big one where people initially in the kind of the discovery phase, early phases, they would just slide it, and then they discovered there was a full grip strategy if you exited the water dip just the right way, and that ended up being the harder to execute but faster, marginally faster way to do things. And look at that right there, Darkwix putting it on display, moving up into second place. There's a bonk there as well. Wix moves up into first place, but he hits the CP, and now place is shifting yet again. How is this identity going to go? It's Nico and Lucario up at front. I think they've got the speed to maintain to keep Wix out of the mix. Lucario's going to hold down the front and just grab it. What a shake-up there at the identity. And it wasn't even the identity itself. It was a few walls and pillars before it that just were knocking down players left and right.
That was a very interesting way to play that out. Just in case people in chat are curious, I did witness a third way of taking that pre-identity water section, which is that instead of landing on the side of the pool per the namesake of this track, what the players would do is actually commit to a water bounce on the right. They would just full send into the water and land in a slide, and it was actually a little bit faster. It was just so wild to go for, and the control wasn't quite there compared to the other two strats, which were a lot more dependable. But man, there was a player or two during the past season or two that made that work, and it was really fascinating to watch. There's just no one really committed to it as kind of the main one to go for. Unfortunate slide out there from Nico. Lucario versus Darkwix, but Darkwix in a far lead.
Again?
Unfortunately clips the CP a second time, allowing Lucario to catch up, but man, Darkwix's lead was such that it was enough to keep him in the lead until that mistake, and Lucario screws up yet again, but unfortunately unfortunately for Darkwix, it was just enough for Lucario to stay ahead barely by 4/10 there. But wow, what a shakeup yet again. Darkwix on finalist, but Lucario getting a decent amount of points. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to matter because Darkwix has been so fast throughout this entire lobby, and there is such a gigantic point deficit that I feel like at this point, this is this is Darkwix's lobby to lose.
And what a breathtaking loss it would be, as you say, if they did lose it. Holding down the back of the pack right now, Nico and Lucario up in front, and Darkwix trying to make up ground with now a 1.5 second gap thereabouts. So I think we'll keep eyes up on the front too for now. The fight between Nico and Lucario, who's in second place and trying to close down that gap as we head towards the couple of main water sections in this track, the one we've pointed to so often. Who gets the grip? Who gets the slide? It's a slide for Lucario. I honestly can't tell if they touched the wall there or not. As they move in toward the identity, Lucario holding on to this lead, slides quite a bit to maintain, or to limit rather, their speed going in. Oh, it's a missed CP. Is it Wix in front after all that?
Oh my god.
Darkwix takes the round, gets themselves second place, and this identity was just demolishing people's runs over and over again in this round. That might be the wildest set of identities played that we saw on any map so far that we've seen in this lobby.
GG. Oh, I'm eliminated. Thank you, game.
I'm eliminated too. Oh,
dang it.
Shoot.
I didn't even qualify. Anyway, back to our ugly mugs as we look real quick to see if there are any other matches remaining. You never know with this one. Let's see if we can just kind of randomly hop into, let's see, 7. Is 7 still going? Let's see. Hope you enjoyed that initial opening round, that round of 64 filled with French players. It was the French lobby. Do we still have... Oh, yes, we do. All right. Mr. Thunder, see if you can hop into Lobby 7. Mime has qualified. I'm going to transition into the game. Mime has qualified. We have Speed Self, Hornet, and Peking in P1, 2, and 3, respectively. Speed Self in the lead by 14 points, and in the lead here in this round specifically by about 4/10. We are on, what is it? This is Quicksand.
Quicksand.
I love Quicksand. This is one of the earlier ones. A simple identity in terms of its kind of general level of complication, but in order to extract as much speed out of it as possible, you definitely need to be cutting things super, super close.
And that is finalist for Speed Self. Tacking 10 points onto their existing total of 115 is going to go over the 120 mark. So now, oh, this is far more spicy as far as the difference between 2 and 3 than the lobby we were just watching. Oh, the bushes are gone. Ah, interesting. Okay, this is the first time I've seen Quicksand played since the reconstruction, the adjustments that were made, and there used to be that, quote, risky start.
Yes.
That people would go for to get a better line and to carry better speed through the first section of the map. Those bushes are gone, which means that line is gone. It's a lot simpler at the start now, which actually in turn should keep the pack tighter for, in general, for later rounds and for later levels of competition. So I'll be curious to see how that pans out at the top level. Uh-oh. Speed Self. Big time bonkage on the wall there as Hornet grabs the lead going into the ice quarter pipe jump.
Oh,
harrowing
no.
section. Hornet, gets eaten alive by that section, as so many players do. Speed Self, who is on finalist, is looking to just cruise through here, make their way through identity calmly as they've got a 2-second, 3-second lead. Can Speed Self hold it together They're going to, the safe of all safes on this one. They see the gap, and that's it. It's going to be Speed Self moving through. As you said, Mime had already grabbed the spot, and now the 2 spots decided. We didn't get to watch 7 for very long. That thing is over in an instant.
Indeed. Well done to Mime and Speed Self. A well-deserved victory there. Hornet, man, put up a decent fight, and the points total was so close to getting to finalists, but it was not meant to be. I'm eliminated yet again. Thank you for reminding me that I'm a garbage Trackmania player. Head back to our faces yet again. Let's play this game one more time, Thunder. Let's see if there are any other matches.
We're going for it.
We are going for it. Oh, I see. They get knocked off of the thing when they finish. Let's go for. Let's try 3. Let's see who is in lobby 3. Stay tuned, chat. Let's see who is in here as we get loaded in. It's probably going to be close. Oh. And it's over. Soldier wins. Who was that?
Oh, okay.
Soldier and Tom Le Dieu. No, he was 3rd. Tom did not qualify. We will back out. I think that is probably a sign, Thunder, that we are coming to the end of the round of 64. I will try one more time. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, 9. Let's go. Lobby 9. What do you got for me? Isn't this fascinating broadcast? Don't you love watching this? You don't have to answer. It's okay.
Well, I can't watch it. I'm on it.
Ooh,
I am
close competition. Okay, get into lobby 9.
Okay,
wow.
I'm going. Here we go.
We have Orist, Mika, the Ice God himself, and Danik B.
Ooh.
A very, very close point total. Mika taking the lead yet again. This is Quicksand. Oh my lord, this is close. Orist, unfortunately, 6/10 back, so it looks like Mika is going to be heading to the round win here, but man, this is I feel like this is the closest one we've had. Papu storming to the victory here, but this is a relatively close fight for P2. Let's see if Danik can get to the end. He can. What are the points totals going to be after this? Is Mika in finals?
It's going to be 122, and yep, that's double finalist.
Oh, okay. I am very happy about this choice here. All right, Mika versus Orist. This could be the final round. Danik is done with that early start mistake. Let's see how the rest of this round pans out.
My goodness, Leachy, well done to pick the right number at the right time. I thought all the rounds were going to be done, but we're just getting going here with what has to be the final round, unless Danik B does something truly insane here and puts us on triple finalists, because they actually could with a round win here. They're at 112 points right now. Mika holding it down at the front. Orist is just behind, 2/10, narrowing the gap down to a 10.5 now as we head toward the faded ice quarter pipe jump. Very little to separate these players. Low line from Mika, a medium line there from Orist. More exit speed, though, as they close the gap and overtake. Heading into the grass jump. Orist goes for earlier contact to get grip sooner. Mika a little bit more inside as we head into the identity. You gotta be kidding me. It is so close between these two. Mika gets to the super turbo earlier. Orist, a lot of penalty sand, and I think it's gonna be Mika here who's gonna grab the win in a double finalist scenario and moves through with Papu. What a finish to this top 64 round. That's super fitting, and I'm so glad we got to see that.
Wow, that was a tight one. Oh, unfortunate that Danik couldn't make it a little bit more competitive, but ma'am, you don't get much closer than that. Papu and Mika, yes, I get it, eliminated 3rd time. Papu and Mika taking this one. They will progress to the round of 32. Are you sick of seeing our faces yet? I hope not. Do you think, all right, all right, Lobby 5 is still up. Let's see. You never know. We're going to milk every bit of content out of this that we possibly can before the round of 32 starts. 5, let's see. Who do we got? Stand by. Double finalists, get in here. This is on
I'm trying.
Kappa has already qualified. And who do we have? I think it is double finalist. Yes, Neko, Krakos, and Rekia, who is all the way back on 86 points. So I do believe this is going to be between Krakos and Neko. And, Rekia, a decent start there, but clips the inside edge and probably puts him completely out of contention. So this is between Neko and Krakos here. for the final spot to get through to the round of 32.
And Krakos, a countryman of Kappa, both from the Czech Republic, if I've got my flags straightened out, playing against the Frenchman in NACO, using that beautiful French car as well, from what I can tell. Sometimes those skins don't load in, but whatever, put that aside. This is a crazy round, double finalist. We're heading now onto the jump that leads us into a little bit of a grass curve, a drop down into a lower section, and a lot of these not super execution heavy. You'll see the players probably stay very close to one another all the way through here and heading up to the identity. That's where the separation is going to be. Great exit there from NACO to take the lead, though. They had a ton of speed going through that section. Regained, though, by Krakos. Jump. First jump successful for both players. It's going to stay close. Heading into the identity, Krakos goes wide right, as does NACO. Neither exceptionally wide. Krakos across the line first, though. And they had some good exit speed coming up to the identity to regain that lead and hold on to it the whole way as the two Czech players make it through into the top 32.
Man, all these little bite-sized final rounds have been super exciting. I'm glad we got to hop in here at the very last second. All right, officially, ladies and gentlemen, that does it for the round of 64. Thank you so much for watching. It sounds like I'm signing off. It's only me signing off. You're still going to get this guy, but Hunted will be rejoining us. I am going to take a back seat through the round of 32, so you will hear the dulcet tones of both Hunted and Thunder taking you through the round of 32. Please do not go anywhere because we have more exciting Trackmania on the other side of this break.
Told my boss that I'm done. Had no luck with my mom. Say, what will you do with your life? You know it's hard to survive. A cigar in my mouth. Maybe guilty but proud. Now I'm an outlaw on the run. Dangerous but it's so fun. Running, running, no. Hold on, don't let go. Running, running, no.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to twitch.tv/Leachy Live. Leachy had to take a break, I guess. I'm back here to replace him. He's let me out of the basement. Thunder, it's nice to be with you, sir. I'm glad you got your first bit of some action in the booth with that last round, but we are moving quite quickly on to the round of 32 here.
We are, and that was before we get into all that pleasantries first, it is very nice to be in the booth with you and just for Trackmania in general. I did love casting, and I really missed being able to be a part of the squad for the action that just went down in the spring season, but I loved watching from the sidelines and seeing how everybody fared there. That's what dictated the 8 players that are already locked in to be playing in this thing, and I suppose the 7 others who don't have to battle their way through seeding and things like that. But now we're getting down into the nitty-gritty. We're getting down to 32 players, and we were going through in the intermission the lobbies and looking at what we wanted to spectate. It's getting now a little bit harder to pick a bad lobby because there are just really high caliber players left. But even among all of those good players, I think we found one that's going to be really interesting here. You might be seeing a lot of that. That was our back-end prediction on what would probably happen here with Mime playing the way they have over the past couple of seasons. They made their way up into the main Trackmania Grand League roster of 16 players. Rozzy was in the next class, that Challengers feature, where they were playing along with the next group of 16 players. Mika and Sam, players who would be battling for spots to get into Challengers. We did see qualifier events like that go down, and I remember Sam in particular making a pretty deep run. So that's kind of how the players are spread. In this one, Mime the clear favorite in this lobby, and again, they're leading in round 2. It'll be very close, and Mime the primary cause of that, as we said, because he just keeps winning, and we'll see if he keeps doing so. Already grabbing a little bit of a lead off of that introductory section of round 3, but it's a decently tight pack here at the front. I think all players, even with Mika in the back, catches a tire on that dirt turn. So it is then, I think, just going to be down to 3 players, barring any mistakes, heading into the second half of this map. This is, I would say, one of the tighter gaps we've seen, though, heading into the second half, as Rozzy is closing that gap to Mime and has gotten it down to under a 1/10 of a second, now 0.07 of a second away, and just closer and closer each moment. That's a huge long section of this map where your entry speed going into it can dictate a lot about how the round goes, and just like that, Rozzy has overtaken and has got the lead. This is the first time somebody other than Mime is leading a round. And we pointed earlier to the importance of always finishing your rounds and how that gets more important when the competition gets closer. This is exactly what we were talking about. There are 2 points that separate second, third, and fourth, all of them, and not finishing a round is the difference between staying competitive in that mix and really falling quite a ways behind. But on a map like Quicksand, very rarely will, if ever at this level, will you see a player not finish the map. It's the riskier identities where you're going to be looking for that. This one is all about optimizing speed, and I thought it was really interesting. Razia had better exit speed at the end of that identity, but you can see how important it is to optimize the early and mid sections of those, of touching the penalty stand as little as possible, so that even if your opponents are faster than you at the end, it doesn't matter because you're too far ahead. A sign of a competitor, and that's, I think that skill is forged the higher that Mime moves up. And like I said, they played in the Trackmania Grand League top class this past season. When you start competing against players like that, your mentality gets better, you learn how to compete in high pressure environments better. All of those skills that aren't mechanical driving skills really get honed in, and it pays dividends there for Mime getting a second place in the round as we get warmed up on Tiny Gap. I talked about not really round failures happening on Quicksand. Tiny Gap, on the other hand, is one that you will see more often than maybe any other map, I would say. Yeah. Yeah. Setting some pace early, really important here too to establish what is already a pretty dominant run from Mime here. But after closing out Quicksand with a second place finish, you want to get back on the right foot, and they did just that. Razi, who was always going to be second in line, I think, to be a competitor in this lobby, is holding down that position and widening that gap. 31 points now to their name compared to the closest of Sam, 10 points behind at 21. There are some gaps to be made up here. And in this round, right now, the lead again going to Mime, and it's Razi in second place. So things are holding the way that they have so many rounds in this lobby so far. It's extremely close. Mime getting pretty used to getting 10 points on their name at the end of a round here. Rozzy, just a few. That gap that I talked about, the 10-point gap between Rozzy and Sam, just closed up quite a bit because of the shakeup in the standings at the end there. Mind you, that was mighty close at the end. That could have gone several ways. But here we go, heading into the next round of this map. Round 3. Have I really lost track already? I mean, it's 4 rounds. You'd think I'd be able to stay on top of that, but apparently not. Mime staying on top of the leaderboard, though. They're in front heading into this ice section with a little bit of a narrower run through that gate after the Japanification of this map for the World Cup. There was a bonk, I think, on the quarter pipe jump as well, so Mime's lead is going to stay pretty comfortable here. Next in line would be Sam with a 5/10 gap coming up behind on the identity. Mime's been really consistent on this one as well. That's a very aggressive turn on the inside line from Sam. Let's see how the identity goes. As they've grabbed the lead, they get underneath that little chevron sign and they steal the round off the back of an insane hairpin turn going into the identity.
You know, with this cup format, man, it's so important to have these consistent finishes, and that's back-to-back. Well, he didn't DNF in the round prior, but a last place finish and then a DNF for Rozzy, and all of a sudden that big lead that he had for second place is gone.
That it is. Things are heating up here on Tiny Gap. They tend to, this map, no shortage of excitement in so many levels of competition. Right now, it's 3 players. 2.5, we'll say. That's quite a gap between Mime and Mika. It's Mime and Rozzy battling at the front with very little separating them here. But I believe, yep, still Mime, Rozzy, the gap. Very, very narrow here between the two. This is Mime finally grabbing the lead as we head toward the identity. Safe from the likes of Sam this time around on some crazy turn happening, as they do have the lead going into the identity. The speed looks good. The angle looks good. They're going to slide their way through the eponymous Tiny Gap. And Hunter, do we have some drama maybe in the background here?
Yes. Rozzy had the second place locked up, and he hit the right side wall coming into the final turn. Ends up taking third. Mika will say thank you very much for his second place finish. And Sam coming in third does finish that map, but again, the points are so very close. Again, you know, Mime having, seemingly an easy time, has only lost 2 rounds up to this point and has won the rest of them. But I'm telling you, man, this battle for second is going to be very, very close with the drama that we've seen so far.
I'm curious to see how the next map that we've got shakes out. This is Bolt Holes. Another one that is not as execution heavy during the initial stages of the map, but gets really intense through the identity. And let's head into round number 1 here. All 4 players pretty tightly knit. It's Mika at the back as they are on the leaderboard. Whoa, somebody just majorly hit a wall, and I'm casting the warm-up. I've never done it before, but everybody has to do it once.
It's like, yeah, it's a must now. It's how you get
it's initiation.
Yeah, exactly.
It's hazing for Trackmania casting, basically, is what it is. I can't believe I did it, though. I thought I was going to be impervious.
Hey, man, happens to the best of us, certainly. But here we go. Actual first round. And all 4 players getting off to a pretty good start. Mime out in front as per usual. Rozzy right behind him. Sam actually decent section there. It's going to make up a lot of time on the leaders, but the Neo slide going to get away from him a little bit that time. And Mime and Rozzy look to fight this one out. You mentioned the identity. It's upcoming here. We have seen some interesting finishes, different lines, different things affecting the players. I expect these players to be pretty quick through that identity, going to take that diagonal angle, but you never know with a lot of pressure on the line, especially with Mime having such a big lead. He could opt to go for a straighter line, a bit safer line. We'll see what he does as he comes up to the first jump here. And yeah, you can see that diagonal angle from Rozzy. Gonna try to chase down Mime. I just don't think he has the time. And it should be a 1-2 finish again. Yes, Mime, then Rozzy, Mika right behind. And Sam should finish. There he goes, taking the final spot.
I think Mika's going to be grateful for the 4 there because it was Sam leading by quite a bit heading into the identity. But they hit the first bolt hole, or I guess that you want to hit the hole. They hit the not hole.
Hit the,
yeah, they hit the edge, and it opened the door for Mika to move in and take 3rd place in this map. And every point for Mika is going to count in that respect because they're really trying to narrow down that gap that has opened up between 3 and 4. They want to try to stay competitive with Sam and Rozzy, who are separated by a single point. But it's going to take, I think, more... It's going to take in the class of some round wins for Mika to be closing that gap. If they keep only scoring points awarded to 3rd and 4th place, it's not going to be enough over time to be able to close that gap. So Mika needs some big performances in rounds moving forward.
Well, he does take the position from Rozzy, who's going to fall to just about a 1.5 seconds behind the rest of the group here. Mime with a 0.5 second lead on Sam, heading down towards the identity for round number 2 here on bolt holes. Or is this round number 2 or round number 3? Oh God, now I'm losing track of the round totals. But
I believe we're on 3.
Yeah, I believe it is 3.
Yeah.
As Mime he takes a very straight line through there. As you can see, Sam kind of cutting that a lot farther left and right. But it works out for Mime. Using that distance he was able to gain, Mika able to take that 3rd spot away from Rozzy, who did make it close towards the end, only a couple of tenths behind. But ultimately, this battle for this 2nd place spot, as you can see, separating Sam and Rozzy by 2 points. Sam in the lead right now. Mika not too far behind. And exactly what you said, I think a round win for Mika is like just what the doctor orders right now, you know. Needs a big 10 points on the board to help him catch up.
Without a doubt. It's getting pretty dicey here at this point for Mika's chances to be in that fight for P2. And it really is a fight for P2. 92 points on the board for Mime. And I think they're keeping a very keen eye on the separation they have over their kind of lobby competitors as they head into the identity. I would guess that's why you're seeing a straight and pretty simple line going through the identity, because they've studied the math. They know how much time you can gain by optimizing that identity, and if they've got themselves a good enough gap, they're not really going to go for anything too crazy, I don't think. But speaking of gaps, it's maybe the tightest we've seen the pack heading into the latter stages of the map. Granted, there are tenths separating everybody. At the back, actually, I think is the most interesting race out of everybody, as Sam and Mika try to fight for position. Mime, Gonzo bonks the edge. It's Rozzy out in front now. Mika on their tail, not hot on their tail though. I think Rozzy's going to be taking this round. Mika falls short as well at the finish. That was the performance they needed. Mika desperately trying to get points to claw their way back up the leaderboard. And they need to finish. They're not going to finish. Mika's not going to score any points this round. That is a devastating finish for their chances.
I would say silver lining for Mika is Sam didn't finish as well, but Rozzy took first, which is huge. Is that gap has been built now. I believe it's an 8-point gap between him and Sam, as Mika, unfortunately, big bonk off the rip, and good on him for not DNFing. He's going to keep this going. I mean, if we have some drama like we did again here on the last round of bolt holes, he could certainly make up some time. But right now, looking at the pack, Rozzy trying to take the lead, but he just doesn't quite land it, as Mime's going to lead Sam, but Sam hot on the wheels here of Mime. We'll see if Sam can track him down, but a little bit of a hiccup in that last round for Mime. I think he's going to want to try to clean that up here, make this as clean a finish as possible.
This is a crucial round for Sam after what happened in the previous one. The next closest competitor to Rozzy, and if they could steal big points in this round, and especially if Rozzy has to bail out on this round, as we saw in the previous one with a couple of players, that could be massive. Mime,
did he hit it again? He did?
think he may very well have. This
Wow.
is Sam in front, who's on the regain train, trying to get some points back toward Razi, and they're going to get 10, but Razi does get 6 to mitigate Sam trying to come back and get that P2.
And Mika again struggling to finish. I don't know if he's got the speed. Oh, he bounces off it one final time. 2 DNFs in a row for Mika. You don't want to count him out, especially because we're changing maps and you never know. Might have an explosive map number 4, I believe we're heading to right now. So, it could be the change of scenery he needs, but that is 2 rounds straight with no points on the board for Mika. And with how tight this second place race has been, I mean, you need at least 3 on every round right now.
Well, and for those taking a gander at the leaderboard, you can see why, as the gap has opened up to 23 points between Mika in 4th and Sam in 3rd place. I didn't cast the warm-up. We're already doing better than we did on bolt holes as far as the commentary goes. As we get into round 1 between these 4 competitors, Mime, obviously, we haven't needed to talk as much about Mime, only because he built quite the buffer. So we see Mime mess up a couple of identities on that map, and we're not exactly shaking in our boots because of how well he performed on previous rounds. We can worry about that nervousness later. I really don't think we're ever going to have to be nervous about that in this lobby. 102 points to 63, the next best competitor. So this conversation is going to be squarely focused on Sam and Razi battling for 2nd place.
But Mime's focused on tomorrow as well, and you know it's still going to be a tough battle to get out of any group that you're in. But right now, Mime riding in 2nd place here, but a very tight pack. Although, as I say that, he takes the lead with a beautiful exit out of the water section right there. Going to split this triangle, and now through the identity we go. This is so much more difficult than it looks when these players take these lines down through that water. It's so easy to slide out. Mime taking the dub after he didn't really have quite the best start. Razi in 2nd, Sam 3rd. And we'll see if Mika can pull some points here. Just needs to keep things together. And there he goes, sliding across the line at the last second to take an important 3 points.
Yeah, I think about 5 rounds ago, we wouldn't have said those points were all that important, or not as important, but after DNFing multiple times on bolt holes, all of a sudden you just want to see Mika finish. And right now, I'm seeing a distinct lack of a 4th player in that pack. Yeah, that's Sam who has crashed out. So it's 3 up front: Mime, Razi, and Mika, who has now slid their way into 3rd place. Not for very long, though. Good speed from Razi coming around that section into this dirt corner. Mime in front in their office, as it were, for this lobby. They've set up shop, office hours, just about any time for Mime in 1st place. And Razi here pretty close on their tail going into the water section. The first of 2. This is just a preview of what the identity holds in this map.
Mika, so fast through there. Sorry, go ahead.
Fast, but Mika got the grip strategy on that one and has kept the gap pretty close. So if there's some zaniness on the identity, they could close this thing down. Oh, well, it's zaniness from Mika. Unfortunately, not from the other 2 players.
Yeah, Mime shocking everyone in the lobby, taking 1st place. As Razi, a 2nd place finish yet again, seems to be his bread and butter. And hey, again, it works. 6 points. Obviously, it's not the full 10, but 6 points per round will definitely kickstart your day going through this cup mode. And pretty soon, Mime's going to exit here, right? I mean, he's what, less than 20 points away, 18 points from becoming a finalist, has to win 1 final round, and then that 10 points is fully up for grabs again.
My thoughts exactly. You literally nailed it. I was just thinking this is about to get really interesting when Mime makes his almost inevitable exit from the lobby and leaves it to these 3 players to scrap it out. And things could shake up. Well, they will. There's no question about it. They just will shake up in a big way depending on how rounds go. At that point, we'll be headed. I think we'll already be on the next map. So things aren't going to be settled as far as first place goes on poolside. It'll come down to the map that's happening after that in the order. But right now, Mime's just looking to put himself in a great spot and set himself up to win on the next map. But look at the exit from Rozzy on that section. It's rare to see any player come out faster than Mime.
Wow.
Almost too fast, as Rozzy just gets grip in time to make that turn on the identity and is plowing their way through to what looks like a round win here as they take one. And Sam in second place, Mika third, and I think we casters cursed the whole Mime situation. They're all the way down at the end, and they're going to be just that little bit farther from being able to get on finalist.
I mean, Rozzy blasts his way across the finish line just like he blasts his way into that corner. I can't believe he held that together. It looked like he was done for there, but really well done. Keeps it on the track, and he is the first car to cross as we head into this next round. I'm going to take that early lead again, and it's interesting again with how much water is on this track. Mime has a very unique line coming out of I believe it's the second water section. Obviously the identity, the one right before the identity. Well, we've seen it. We'll see it again here in just a moment. But he takes a very shallow, or rather sharp line compared to the shallow lines the rest of the players take, and it gives him so much earlier traction that he's able to kind of just coast around this corner. As you see, Rozzy has to sort of cut it in, and Mime is just taking that nice sweeping line straight through. It's really unique to see.
And it's a battle of line versus exit speed a little bit, I think, and we saw that as evidenced by how much speed Rozzy had coming into the identity in the previous round. But this time, line is going to win as Mime gets back to their dominant fashion, taking the 10 points there. Rozzy 6 as they open up the gap even farther from Sam, who has now fallen, we can now say, a considerable amount behind. That round win from Rozzy and these consistent second place finishes has now opened up yet another gap in the leaderboard where it had been so hotly contested for second place previously.
And as we leave poolside behind and head to our next map, things looking a bit desperate for Mika. Sitting with 50 points, I believe, heading into this one. Obviously, 140 is the marker, and you'll need to win a round from there. Hart is on the docket this time, and again, Mime, a lot of experience on this map. Expect him to have a good couple of early finishes. And for Mika, obviously really well known for his ice driving and things like that. It can be hard to adapt to these more mixed maps for some of these players. I think that's part of the reason why we see, Mika struggling a little bit too. And you never know. Obviously, we're not in voice comms with him or anything like that, so you don't know. Maybe there's a little bit of a tilt factor happening too. But it would do really well for him to get a couple of big finishes here. A first place finish could go so far, even if it's just one round.
And it would be, as you say, a double win, both for literally your standing in the standings and mentality heading into the later stages of the match. If you're on finalist watch, first or second is good enough here for Mime to go onto final list. Yeah, 135 points, 10 points or 6 points will do it. Right now they're in first, sitting comfortably in the lead ahead of Rozzy, as these two so often are going into the identity. Mime is going to just try to close this thing out and get that big fancy red F. Mime in front, Rozzy behind, and that's how it's going to stay. Mime will put themselves with 10 points comfortably onto finalist. Rozzy widens the gap yet again, and Sam and Mika, now they're battling in the back, and it's with Rozzy earning the points that he does, it's almost as if the gap is closing between Mika and Sam.
Yeah, got to start to worry about the players behind as well. Although, really, with only 2 spots up for grabs and the finalist now being activated for Mime, he only needs one final round win, and he will punch his ticket to tomorrow. Unfortunately for Mika, slow start there, tapping the inside wall. He's going to have to play a little bit of catch up here. Sam sitting in third right now, just about 2 tenths or so behind. Rozzy trying to play spoiler to Mime a little bit. I wonder if you're Rozzy, right? I don't think any of these players are going to intentionally throw around, but maybe let Mime qualify out right here, get your 6 points, and then look to really capitalize on those big 10s. And as soon as Mime isn't giving you so much trouble up front.
You never know. Can't rule it out entirely. I'd be highly surprised to hear any player strategizing not to win.
Oh.
After all, this isn't TMGL Fall 2021, where we saw strategies like that with the multiplayer or the multiplier rounds, rather. But Mime is going to do it. They're the first player through into what will be the top 16, as we're in the round of 32 right now. And now the fight is about to get really interesting. Sam taking a second place there narrows the gap by 2 points between he and Rozzy. And now there are 10 points always up for grabs, and they're going to go to one of these 3 players who are fighting for second place.
Yeah, so it's a drag race to the finish essentially now. Rozzy can get there in 4 rounds if he wins 4 straight. Sam would need at least 6 to put himself in that finalist position. Mika a little bit further away than that, but a lot of Trackmania left to play, and you can see Sam and Rozzy already neck and neck. Oh, as I say that though, a little bit of a tap on that inside wall coming around the corner, and that's going to give Rozzy a ton of time to play with here. Can take his time through the identity if he so chooses to. He's got a 3-second lead built on Sam. Mika even further behind right now. This should be a win for Rozzy, but this identity is unique, Thunder, in that you can't really take it too safe, because if you lose too much speed, you're just not going to make these jumps.
Yeah, it requires a decent level of pace all the way through. In particular, that drop into the curved...
Yes,
right. I struggle to find the terminology to describe it, but I'm sure most people know. It's that one above all. If you have just a little bit less than the optimal amount of speed, you'll catch a tire, you'll completely miss it, and that ruins your entire identity right then and there. So it is crucial to have entry speed for the identity to be able to do that section. It was done cleanly by Rozzy, who puts themselves on 111 points. 91 is the closest, with Sam, who's in, I guess we could say now, second place on the leaderboard, 3rd overall, because Mime is already through. But right now we've got an interesting lead, as Sam built up a little bit of a gap in the early stages of this map. Almost always we see Rozzy leading here, but they're going to have to regain some time on Sam.
Yeah, and again, folks, just finishing is key for both of these players. I mean, even though Rozzy has a decent lead, it's only 20 points, right? If you don't finish and Sam, takes a win in a round, your lead's cut in half right there. As that was very close from Sam, but he keeps his lead. Really, you can see him, he's trying to just keep this pace. He's going to cut that well, takes the wider line there. Did look a little close towards tapping that front wheel, but he does end up making the jump, takes that win. Rozzy does come in second though, so 4 points brought back by Sam, as Mika again just struggling to keep himself in this lobby right now. And unfortunately, Thunder, it looks like this might be a 2-man race here.
I would say so, and I hope it's all the more intense as Sam continues to compete here. I really admire the tenacity on that round in particular, not pulling any punches on the lines and speed that he was going for to get himself just a little bit closer. We're moving to a map transition. Slalom, the throwback of all throwbacks here, coming into this Trackmania World Cup season. And I was trying to look at the localization question here to see where in the world we might be in this particular one. Now this, I think, is France because of the flags. I've noticed that that's started to be a clue as to where we are in the world. They actually hang these little triangular flags on banners across, and we saw that for Japan and I think Germany and a couple other places. If I'm not mistaken, I think we're in France here, and we'll see whether that benefits the 2 French players, Sam and Mika, who are competing against the likes of Croatia, I believe that is, for Rozzy.
little bit of Trackmania GeoGuessr going on now.
Yeah.
Yeah, these maps are beautiful. Certainly love watching the players race here as Rozzy takes an early lead, but nipping right on his heels this time is Mika. Sam, not the greatest start. He's going to be about 2.5, maybe 3 seconds behind. A little less than that, but Mika tapping the inside there. This is going to give Rozzy all the time in the world. And actually for Sam, a bit of a blessing there that Mika unfortunately can't quite capitalize on his second place spot. If Sam can continue his run, I think that's really who we should pay attention to right now. Yeah, it is going to be Sam able to take second, not by much. That was much closer than I think he wanted. A little bit of that penalty snow. He didn't have a ton of speed, and Mika almost snipes that position. But Sam does take second place and keeps it a close battle. But we're back to that 20-point lead.
We are unfortunately seeing the experience. Not okay. That's a weird way to put that. Only because we want to see a close competition at the end, but we're seeing the benefit of experience in Rozzy opening up this gap, playing in Trackmania Challengers for a couple of seasons consecutively and putting up good results. To boot has, I think, really helped Rozzy's chances of not only driving consistently but staying focused on the task at hand when you've got a player nipping at your heels with the likes of Sam. 20-point gap. So Sam, with a couple of wins, that still only gets them 8 points closer, and it would still put... Oh, actually, it wouldn't put Rozzy on finalists. They'd need 1 point more than that. 2 second-place finishes would give them 12. They'd be at 139, painfully close to finalist, but not quite there. And Rozzy's at the back right now. They're not, barring catastrophe, they're not going to be winning this round. I think it's going to be Sam up front taking the win. Mika in second place, very comfortable on the ice, as we say, taking second, and Rozzy holding up the back. That is where doubt can start to creep in just that little bit.
Yeah, that, and again, you mentioned 2 second place finishes brings him to 139. It doesn't matter how many points you get over 140, you just have to hit 140, right? So for Sam, if you can keep, you force him to have another lap, right? That just gives you that extra time to build more points to hit 140 yourself. So this right now, Sam in a pretty good position, though he does need, I think he has to take the win here away from Rozzy to really force a couple more rounds to turn this into an interesting finish. If Sam can snipe this round, it would go quite a long way. It would move him up to 127 points. As Mika, unfortunately, again, just tapping that wall heading into the identity. He will be hoping for a mistake from the 2 front runners as Rozzy has the lead through the engineless section. Now up through the ice. Can Sam turn this one through? Rozzy keeps his lead, but Sam has some good exit speed, but he doesn't have the line. Taps, unfortunately. Now he's got to worry about keeping second, and he will. As Mika should be able to finish this one off. Yes, he will. He will take those 4 points, but now Rozzy up to 141. Another win puts him in that finalist position.
Oh, it puts him through. Rozzy at 140.
Sorry, yes, it puts him through.
On finalist. This is it for Sam. They got to win everything from here on out. Granted, Mika does as well. We can't rule them out entirely yet. We're just talking about where the main competition lies in this lobby for that second place to get through into the top 16 after a grueling day working through a huge host of players in this open qualifier format. But we're grateful for it. We're seeing a lot of talent filter its way through into Trackmania, and open systems like this really help cultivate more talent and more opportunity in the sport. So it's nice to see, but really we've worked our way down to some very familiar names at the end of the day in the likes of Rozzy and Sam here, who are neck and neck. But good slalom section there from Rozzy. Sam,
great exit speed.
A lot of speed, good exit speed. You have to rather mitigate a bit of your speed going into that grass turn so as not to sail past the CP. So it is Rozzy up in front here going into the identity. Sam very tight on that CP, is again going for a tricky line, but that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to do it as Rozzy secures the second spot going into the top 16, and try as they might, Sam was not able to close the gap and make it a double finalist.
But quite an effort given by Sam to make this a competitive lobby, certainly. Obviously, Mime running away with things early, qualifying first out of the group, but Rozzy having to slam the door a couple of times on his opponents there to ensure his second place finish. So congratulations to both players. And, I'm really excited to see how far Rozzy can go. Can he make it through the round of 16? I think that's going to be the biggest question. Mime, if he plays the way he did, Thunder, in this group, I think you have to give him an edge. You have to give him the benefit of the doubt that he'll be able to make that top 16.
No question. It was far too dominant to say otherwise. And Mime, really, you don't even need to look at this qualifier to see the evidence as to why they're such a favorite going into later rounds in this tournament and being such a good contestant for getting that World Cup spot. We'll go into lobby 5 now. Is the choice from production in the background as we pivot and try to catch some great late rounds like we did in the top 30, 40, 64. Top 64 was the previous one that we had. And we're going to be joining in the ranking right now. Oh, we missed it. Papu wins the match. Okay, so that's it. We just narrowly.
Wow. We unfortunately we missed the ending there, but a group finish, Feed and Speed Self both eliminated in that group. So interesting development there. That'll be a lot of fun to watch the German player Arthanier tomorrow. He qualifies out of that group as well. We'll see. Is there anything else still going on? We are taking a look. Give us just a moment. Okay, it looks like Otak and Link from Group 8 have qualified. The only other group running right now is Group 7. I'll jump into that, see if we can, if this is still going. If so, we'll show you the finish of this group, and then we'll set our sights on tomorrow, Thunder, where we've got a whole mess of Trackmania to play. It looks like we are jumping in, and this is a pretty close group. Wizzy's actually at risk of being eliminated here as Super Carloof. He's got a finalist position, but Wizzy in the lead. Who was the other player who came out of it? It looks like Binks, the player to take first out of this group. So a close battle like we saw in our group for this last spot. And Wizzy, no, he falls. He had the line. All comes down to this last through the identity here, but this map can be so easy to finish if you have a decent gap, and it looks like that's exactly what's going to happen. That's a heartbreaker for Wizzy.
Wow, we got lucky tuning in previous lobbies when we were looking at the top 64. This almost feels like an unfortunate time to tune in just to see Wizzy bonk on that ice quarter pipe jump, not be able to deny the win. So it's Binks and Super Carloof who make their way through on this, and that's it. Hunted for the round of 32. So we have now solidified who the 16 players are going to be going into our next and what is going to be an insane round of competition that will start off tomorrow.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that is where we end the day, but we do have, like we were saying, a whole lot of Trackmania tomorrow, and this is all one big qualifier for ultimately what will be the World Cup, which, by the way, folks, tickets still are on sale for. If you are in the area, please go and go purchase those tickets. I believe they're starting at 25 euros. So there's the link in chat from Leachy. Go follow that link if you haven't secured your ticket yet, and be there for this awesome World Cup event. We watched, players, they're not quite qualified yet, but some very, very fast players making it into the top 16 and looking for those last couple of spots tomorrow. Sorry, I almost called you Leachy, but ThunderBall's last couple of spots open for grabs tomorrow.
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting mix of surprising names and familiar names tomorrow. Again, the magic of the Open Qualifier format. You're seeing that talent filter through and try to challenge some of these more familiar names to see if they can grab a spot in this World Cup. But I think consistency and experience, we'll see if that wins out come tomorrow. Hunted, I am so excited for that. And that's going to be actually happening, I think, with a little bit of a pivot toward your stream.
Yes.
It's going to be happening on Hunted's channel tomorrow starting at 11 Eastern. So Hunted, you're going to be the host, the caster, the hospitable welcomer of all who are going to come and watch those finals.
Yeah, it'll be a blast. We will, like say, go live right around probably a little bit earlier. But action should start right at 11 Eastern, and we have the pleasure to be able to watch all 4 groups of action tomorrow. So you're not going to miss a thing. That again will be taking place over at twitch.tv/huntedcast. Make sure that you're there tomorrow. And again, thank you to everybody. I don't know if Leachy wants to come back on and say thank you or anything like that. He said no in the background. I'll say thank you for him. Thank you everybody for watching and participating in chat and everything today. This is super cool. Super glad that we were able to get this covered. Thunder, it's been a pleasure to work with you, sir, here in Trackmania, and obviously you'll be on board tomorrow as well. But again, from Leachy, who unfortunately won't be able to join us tomorrow, thank you to everybody behind the scenes. Thank you, of course, to everybody at Nadeo for organizing and allowing us this awesome opportunity. But Thunder, anything you'd like to say before we sign off for the day?
I'm just, like you, grateful, super grateful to be here after a long casting drought for Trackmania, and of all times to come in, to be able to swoop in here and join on to the World Cup just as they secure an amazing Toyota racing sponsorship, as tickets go on sale, we're ticking all the boxes of excitement for Trackmania, and we get to be a part of it this weekend. So I'm jazzed about it.
Yeah. So folks, we will see you tomorrow, twitch.tv/huntedcast. Make sure you follow Leachy here as well. And again, thank you so much for watching. We will see you then.